the metaphorical presents itself as literal in order to convince us of its reality. But then again, taking things literally is a legitimate way of regarding the world. William Blake's view, the view that you have double vision. His famous quotation about he's talking to himself. He says, "Do you see the sun as a golden guinea?" And he replies, "No, no, I see a heavenly host singing, 'Holy, holy, holy.'" Well, that's obviously a sort of truer vision of the sun than the literal sun, in some sense. But if you only see a heavenly host, you're in trouble. You'll never pay your bills that way. It's kind of madness. So you have to always see the metaphorical through the literal, or see them at the same time, or preferably achieve that state of consciousness that preceded the division of metaphorical and literal, in which is only consequent upon our modern worldview, our Cartesian worldview. The idea of literal and metaphorical didn't really exist until then. We have divided that world. And before, you just saw the world, and it was both literal and metaphorical at the same time, but you just didn't think about it in that way. Whenever we pay very, very deep attention to something through trying to create art or falling in love or something, we return once again to that pre-metaphorical literal divide. We are just wholly entranced by an object which is both itself and rather than the way that you talk about symbols, which is only ever itself but magically points beyond itself at the same time. And anything whatsoever can be a symbol. I mean, a poet can create out of the context of language a symbol out of anything whatsoever. But it's very hard to say, why isn't that just a pigeon he's talking about? But if he writes about it in a certain way, it becomes a rich, almost bottomless container for associations with, flight, the soul, the Holy Ghost. You can make a pigeon into a vast symbol if you're a good enough writer. And I think that's the sense in which we can fuse the metaphorical and the literal once again to a point where they are kind of meaningless.